What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video. If this is your first time to the channel and you do enjoy the content, please consider hitting that subscribe button down below for some more videos in the future. Now, today we're hopping into the subject of most impactful Zetas for newer players. I had a subscriber kind of request this, and then also applied a Zeta this week that was extremely impactful to the team that I applied it to. So I thought it would be a good subject to cover, go over some that I have that have been really effective, and then some that I won't, that I know will have big effects on the teams when I get them added in. So let's hop over and take a look at my roster. The first thing that I'm going to go over is my Jedi team, ones that I think are really important. Now, Jedi Knight Revan, of course, is probably the best Jedi leader in the game. He has 3 Zetas, extremely good character, but the one that I found most impactful on the team is his leader ability. It says add whenever a Jedi ally attacks out of turn, they recover 20% of their max protection, which is pretty huge, especially considering that the fact that that team is set up to have a lot of attack out of turns. And then they deal 35% more damage, which is really huge as well. And then when a Jedi uses a basic ability on an enemy with bonus protection, reduce that target's enemy's max health by 10%, stacking. And then they also start the battle with tenacity up for 1 turn. So a lot goes into this leader ability. I know with the max health stacking thing is a really good counter when you are going against Padmé teams, even though they are a pretty tough team for Jedi Knight Revan to go after. You just have to go the correct route to beat them. Then you can start throwing a lot of basics on those characters with max protection up, which will start taking that health down on their health pools, which is pretty nice to have that as part of that. And this character just in general completely transforms your Jedi team on how effective they are, especially because you're probably going to be going from a Bastila lead to this. While Bastila lead is extremely good, Jedi Knight Revan is quite a bit better. Another one that I found extremely impactful when I added it on to this team was Battle Meditation by Grandmaster Yoda. So what this does is when you are spreading around buffs, you gain foresight for 2 turns, and you send that around to the entire team. Extremely effective to be able to protect your team from taking oncoming attacks. I can't tell you how many times this has saved my butt since I've added it in, and it's extremely good in Jedi and then also in Galactic Republic if you use him in Padmé team as well. So really good Zeta, gets a lot of use in multiple teams, so can't go wrong with adding that one on there. And then probably the most annoying Zeta for a lot of people in the game, it is That Looks Pretty Bad from Jolie. Probably cannot have this character without having this Zeta. It's that impactful. It's huge for Jedi teams, and what that does is when you use this ability, it revives all defeated Jedi allies at 80% health, which is pretty massive, and then gives them on top of that crit hit immunity for 5 turns. That's insane. It's an extremely useful ability. You see a lot of people use these against General Grievous teams where they have zombie Jedi come back to life and really just kind of wipe out teams. So it's one of the better Zetas in the game, and is an extremely good investment for early players who go after the Jedi Knight Revan squad. And then lastly, as far as Jedi concerned, before I got Jedi Knight Revan unlocked, and this Zeta still becomes useful a lot of times in GAC because I will split off Bastila from my Jedi team and form a second Jedi team, and her leadership initiative is super huge. So you already start off with a lot of max protection, but it will add taunts to Jedi tank allies at the start of the encounter. So you guys know how effective pre-taunts are in this game. This adding it onto a Jedi tank right off the bat is extremely helpful, and then 150% tenacity with protection up is extremely huge. A lot of times you can get max banners with this team in your GAC battles because of how good her leadership ability is. And then that pre-taunt, if you have a great tank to go along with this, works really well. Can't recommend this Zeta enough. It's something that you will still get use out of even when she's not your leader, because you can split that off in your GACs and have her as part of another Jedi team. It's nice to have those 2 effective Jedi leaders going forward. All right, so next thing, Padmé Amidala, both of her Zetas are quite good If I had to pick one of the other, it probably would be always a choice. And what this does is when somebody attacks out of turn on your team, it grants your player who's getting hit 40% protection up, which is massive, massive, huge. That turns into courage later on when it comes back to that player's turn or character's turn. So you're getting more and more damage out there, as well as just protecting your characters from taking oncoming damage from assist. It's really, really solid and really can shut down a lot of teams that really focus on assist. Like Jedi Knight Revan, for example, is a team that focus on assist. Padmé, especially if you're using that against the AI, is going to be a really easy counter to Jedi Knight Revan because of the way that team works. Same thing with some of the bounty hunters and stuff like that require a bunch of assist to do a lot of damage. Then that team's going to really stop them in their tracks. All right, next one, Geobrood Alpha. This is one of the ones that is a must-have if you have this character, Queen's Will. So this character, if you guys are familiar with it, it can summon a extra character called Brute, which will be essentially a tank for the team and does pretty good damage as well. But what this does is it starts the encounter with this Geonosian Brute summoned, and it taunts for 1 turn. Like I said earlier, pre-taunts are huge, huge, huge in this game. Only so many characters have that available to them, and this character having that is really, really nice. And Brute is a really good character in its own right as well. So really solid Zeta. Don't regret having that one at all. All right. My very first Zeta that I ever did was Emperor Palpatine. It's one that I do not regret. It still gives me a lot of use out of this character, and it's just a solid Zeta that affects both Empire and Sith allies. So what happens when a debuff on an enemy expires, Empire and Sith allies gain 5% turn meter. Huge. Turn meter is so big in this game, especially when you pair him with somebody like Grand Moff Tarkin, Darth Vader, that put out tons of debuffs. When those are expiring, you're just getting more and more turns. Extremely, extremely useful. Bastila Fallen is also extremely good underneath a Emperor Palpatine lead because of all the debuffs. It really just makes that team fly by. And a lot of times I've gone against teams where they didn't even get a turn to take a turn because I either had them stunned out or my turn meter was just flying past them with Emperor Palpatine. So definitely a good beginning Zeta and a character that a lot of people get early on in the game. Now, the character that I was talking about at the beginning of this video just added this Zeta to him, and I'm working on him. Bounty hunters are so useful in so many areas of this game, especially when it comes to events. You think of the assault battles, the bounty hunting events where you're going after certain character shards. It's useful to have a solid bounty hunter team. It's something that I've been working towards and building up, and might have been terrible until I added the Zeta onto his leadership ability. And whenever an enemy suffers a debuff or resist, all bounty hunters recover 5% health and protection. So he's a good leader already, but when you add that into it, it actually gives this team a lot of survivability, and he's already tanky as well. So if you keep giving him health and protection when he's taunting, it's super, super helpful. And a lot of the bounty hunters, put out a lot of debuffs. So it's something that you're continually getting 5% health and protection across the board. And then if you're doing AoE debuffs, which a lot of bounty hunters do, it's just huge increases to your health and protection pools. Definitely recommend Bosk. He's a really good bounty hunter leader, but a very, very good early Zeta for people who are going after bounty hunters. Super, super good Zeta. All right. So the last one that I want to look at that I'm going to slightly mention Shaak Ti. Shaak Ti is definitely a great character. Her Zetas are both very good, but I wouldn't say necessarily game-changing. One of them is an assist out of turn that does give health and protection back to your team. Very, very helpful. And the other one gives you retribution when you're attacked. So both of them are very, very good. Recommend them highly if you're going after a Shaak Ti team. But I didn't feel that they just completely game-changed that. My clones. Now, herself, just her leadership, definitely game-changed the clones. But the Zetas, very, very nice, but didn't really just super wow me on how great they were. I find them very useful, but not as influential as some of the other Zetas I have. And then lastly, Mother Talzin. This is one of, for probably you guys who have done the Hyperdrive bundle or are just big fans of the Night Sisters. But her leadership ability to me has been very, very helpful since I've added that on. Really good for defensive holds in Grand Arena, or at least getting a lot of banners taken away from my opposing teams that are going after this. So what this happens when a Night Sister ally uses a basic ability during their turn, a random defeated Night Sister ally is revived with 50% health and called to assist. So if somebody goes down on your Night Sister team, they're not out. They definitely can come back and help. And then if they're able to defeat that enemy with that attack, then they are revived immediately and added back to your team. So it's something that is extremely good. It's very powerful too when you start looking at characters like Asajj, who gets more powerful the more deaths that happen on the field. So this feeds into that ability. It's been a really, really good defensive Zeta for me when it comes to GAC. Definitely don't regret doing it, and it's quite fun to play with too. You can get a team going with Anakin as well in the Sith raid and do quite a bit of damage based off of playing around with that Zeta and getting a bunch of extra turns from characters dying off with that. So definitely a good Zeta. All right, so the last thing I want to look at is the Zetas that I want, the ones that are working towards right now and the ones that I feel are very, very impactful. And one thing, just kind of let you guys know, that's something that I'm focusing on right now when it comes to my Zetas. Yeah, I would like to pile Zetas onto teams and make those teams as good as I possibly can, but I also want to spread Zetas out so a bunch of my teams are effective because they have the most influential Zetas on their team. And one of those that I am missing right now, and it's going to be the next Zeta that I have, is Fives with his tactical awareness. This is really going to make people go after him and save the rest of your clones. So I'm gearing this character up and then throwing this Zeta on him. So if Fives is defeated, 501st Clone Trooper allies gain his max health, max protection, speed, offense stats in addition to their own until the end of the battle. So if they happen to defeat another one of your clones and do not go after Fives first, then it's going to be a mistake. He's going to supercharge those clones going forward and really make them crazy powerful. Extremely important Zeta, very, very game-changing when it comes to that team, because if you're going against the computer and then they attack Rex or one of those and take him out, then Fives is going to supercharge the team for the rest of the battle. It's extremely important and impactful on that team. All right, so the next one that I really, really want is Kylo Ren Unmasked. Leadership abilities are extremely important in this game, and this leadership ability definitely takes the First Order to the next level. 15% crit damage, plus 5 speed, plus 5% Terminator gain when First Order allies gain SAS effects. They recover 5% health and protection. So it does so much to add to that team. It's one that I definitely want. I use this team a lot on defense, and I think this will help it get holds for sure. And a team that I want to invest in more in the future for defensive GAC teams going forward. So that's really the main ones. I also actually, Commander Luke, we all know that he has quite a few Zetas on him. It binds all things. That's another one that has turn meter gain that I think is going to be extremely impactful when I get that one done. But the last one that I want to look at is Enfys Nest. So this is a character, one I think is an extremely good investment because in GAC, this character can take out teams all by itself, which is extremely, extremely powerful when you think of gearing up one character instead of gearing up 4 or 5 characters to be able to complete a good GAC team. This is one that I'm working on right now, working on finishing up the star levels on it, and then I want to take this up to Gear 13 probably as soon as I can to go ahead and get this one to the relic level. But this one is one that I want to get for sure, is Finding Instinct. So it adds tonic Nora, which is very, very huge, and then adds health steal stacking when an enemy loses a buff or debuff. So giving yourself an insane amount of health steal on top of being able to do a lot of counters, and then the way that her protection works, it's really, really powerful character. One that at Relic can solo teams like Padmé, which is crazy insane, but I've seen it happen in videos. So it's one of those that I want definitely for a counter in GAC, and the Zeta here is very, very important to making her work correctly. So, but that is it, guys. Sorry that I've been a little lax on videos here lately. The holiday weekend has been very, very busy for me, but I wanted to do just a quick one today to get it out there so we could kind of go over that. But please comment down below. Let me know what your most influential Zetas have been on your teams, ones that you think everybody should be going after. Look forward to seeing those comments, and I will see you guys in